Viewer discretion advised. On Friday, October 2nd, 1998, Zach Witman, 15, stayed home from school because he was sick. Later that day, he left the key to his house inside the lock, so his little brother, Gregory Witman, 13, could let himself inside the house after school in New Freedom, Pennsylvania. 3:06 p.m. Gregory gets off the school bus and proceeded to walk home, which was his normal routine. 3:09 p.m. Erin Jeffrey, Gregory's girlfriend, calls the Witman house, but the phone is immediately picked up and hung up without anyone speaking a word. There were two phones in the Witman house, one on the first floor and one on the second. Being familiar with the family, the girl knew the call was answered downstairs and waited a few minutes before calling back. 3:15 p.m. Erin calls back and Zach answers the phone upstairs. He tells her Gregory isn't home from school yet. Afterwards, Zach hears a noise on the first floor and goes downstairs to investigate. 3:17 p.m. Zach calls 911.
Listen to me. Is he breathing?
No.
He's not breathing?
No.
All right, stay on the phone with me a minute.
What? I gotta call my mom.
Okay, you need to stay on the phone with me for now, okay?
I gotta call my mom.
No, you need to stay on the phone with me.
Okay. Come on.
And what's your name?
I'm Zach.
Your name is Zach? Your
Yeah.
last name?
Whitman.
Whitman.
Yeah. I
Okay.
gotta call my mom. She's
Okay,
at work.
what's your phone number there, Zach?
7929-235-79. I hear him.
Okay, they're on their way. I'm going to go ahead and hang up with you.
Okay.
You're sure there's nobody else around?
I don't see anyone. I don't see anyone. I didn't look. I don't want to look.
Listen to me a minute. Okay, you say you were upstairs and you heard a bang and that's it.
Not a bang. Just
Not
like,
a bang, you heard a
like-
loud
like-
noise.
Just like suffering almost, like rustling around. Yeah. And then I come downstairs and the door's cracked. He's just lying there. Just lying there.
3:25 p.m. An ambulance arrives first, then police officers. Zach, still in shock and begging to call his mother, is taken to the hospital and questioned by police. Ambulance technicians on the scene reported blood all over Zach's hands from attempting CPR on his brother as instructed by the 911 operator. 3:40 to 4 p.m. Gregory is pronounced dead, and police began a homicide investigation. The 13-year-old boy was stabbed 100 times and attacked as soon as he entered his home. It's interesting to note the police chief searching the house heard a door slam during the search, but he didn't investigate the noise. The basement wasn't searched, the crime scene improperly secured, and police let civilians into the house. Unfortunately, the comings and goings of all officers and non-official personnel was not logged. Fibers and hairs were not collected, and valuable evidence was left behind in the home to be washed by the owners. 10 hours later, the Pennsylvania State Forensic Team used luminol, a product they admit to using for the first time and very unfamiliar with the how-tos, found gloves and a small knife buried under the ground, 10 feet from the house in the backyard. Despite a brutal and bloody crime scene, Zach's fingerprints and DNA were not found on the gloves, the knife, on the body, or at the crime scene. On October 10th, 1998, Zach Witman was charged with the first-degree murder of his brother. During his trial, his defense attorney didn't contest the evidence or bring in experts to contest the prosecution's theory. No motive or explanation of how Zach murdered Gregory in 7 minutes was given by the prosecution. In 2003, Zach Witman was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without parole. All attempts at a retrial have been denied. MRM theory. This crime was not planned and simply a case of luck. An adult male living in the neighborhood or one who frequented the area committed the murder. Somehow the killer observed Zach leave the key in the lock and made an impulsive decision to enter the house. He let himself in with the key and found Zach alone and asleep upstairs. This is highly possible since the Witmans said their 3 dogs didn't bark at strangers, only at the sound of a ringing phone. When Aaron first called, the killer was downstairs, planning his crime and escape route. He picked up the phone and immediately hung it up, fearing the ring would disturb the dogs and wake Zach, destroying his element of surprise. Possibly his intention was to look around the house, but saw Zach alone and unprotected, and once again made an impulsive decision. Before he could go back upstairs to kill Zach, a little yellow school bus dropped Gregory off near the house. The killer hadn't realized so much time had passed in plotting the crime, so he stood behind the front door where the stairs ended and waited for Gregory to enter the house. Immediately, he stabbed the teen in the throat so he couldn't scream for help. When the table in the entryway was broken, the killer carried Gregory to the back of the house where he could finish his brutal crime and make his planned exit without a witness. He must have heard Zach on the phone with 911 and buried the gloves and knife in case the police stopped the neighbors. It would be easy for someone to escape such a secluded location. I don't believe the knife found was the one used in the crime. It was simply in his pocket at the time, and the real murder weapon is buried somewhere nearby. I must state, Zach killing Gregory does not make sense. Number 1, how did a 15-year-old boy commit such a brutal crime in 7 minutes, especially with it being his first time? Number 2, if he had the sense not to leave fingerprints or DNA evidence behind, why did he leave the bloody gloves with a knife on the property? I mean, come on, guys. If Zach killed Gregory, you'd think he would have allowed himself a little bit more time to destroy the evidence. Number 3, why did Zachary answer the phone during the murder? If the police are right and Zachary murdered Gregory, why did he bother to answer the phone during the crime? Zach has always said he was asleep when Gregory got home. If he was the killer, it would be much easier for him to say that he slept through the whole thing. Number 4, why wasn't there blood on the second floor? Zach had blood on his hands and clothes, yet none of it was found upstairs. If he was the killer, he would have transferred blood on the second floor when he answered the phone, but there was nothing. Number 5, where's the motive? There's no reason for Zach to kill his brother. He wasn't on drugs, didn't have emotional or mental problems. His family, friends, and neighbors also testified that the boys had a good relationship and loved each other. Based on the evidence I reviewed, I find Zach an unlikely candidate to commit fratricide. What do you think? Did Zach Witman kill his little brother, or is he an innocent man locked up in prison? A $100,000 reward is being offered to the person whose tip leads to the release of Zach Witman from state prison. The confidential tip line is 717-819-6006. More information can be found at www.zachwhitman.com. For Gregory. Sources for this case are in the description. No copyright infringement intended. Thanks for watching. If there's a case you'd like to see me feature on Mondays or Murder, send me the name of the case to MaryGirlMoody@gmail.com. If you like the video, please give it a like. New videos every Monday. Subscribe.